one of the things that is really exercising many educators now is how is the job of teaching and also of leading changing in an age of digitization, robotics, artificial intelligence and so on. Some of it is already there. But 5 years ago I'd go into schools, I'd see almost no iPads. Now I see lots of iPads. Some are used well, some are used badly, but they're as common now in the developed world as blackboards used to be, and then whiteboards and smartboards and so on. So let's think about 3 ways in which this might raise some important questions. I think the first, which may surprise some people, is what does that mean for the role of the teacher? And lots of people will say, well, the teacher is no longer a sage on the stage, but is now a facilitator, guiding people through the overwhelming amount of information of all kinds that they see before them, helping them select, discriminate, choose, judge, evaluate, assemble, integrate, and so on. And I think that's true, but it's not completely true. And the reason I say that is teaching, learning, being human is very much of an oral as well as a digital way of being. We like to tell stories from the most ancient times. Our indigenous communities still use narrative as a big part of who we are. Politicians know at their best how to use narrative, make people feel part of a compelling story. Every learner would love to have their own Ken Robinson and not only have Ken Robinson on TED Talk. So paradoxically, people will still want teachers with authority who know their material and can talk about it in a very inspiring way. But the thing is teachers won't be able to bluff anymore. So if they don't really know something, they won't be able to pretend that they do. They won't be able to make it up as they go along, because within 3 minutes a child will have their hand up and say, well, actually that's not true. So strangely, in some ways a teacher will need less authority as they're guiding and facilitating. But in other ways they'll need more authority, but perhaps on fewer things, so that when they're really telling a compelling narrative, we all know and they know that they really know.
So what digital trends do you think will be the most applicable in school the upcoming years?
Yeah, I think we'll see, at a very simple level, we'll see more Khan Academy kinds of presentations. So people who are very good in 4 minutes or 8 minutes at explaining a concept online in algebra or physics can probably do it better than 80% of classroom teachers could do it. I think there'll be more of that available. Kids will be able to access it easily. I think there'll be more expert teachers putting themselves forward in terms of being able to do that. I think there'll be a cost to that, but I think the cost will be quite low because the volume will be high. So at a very simple level, we'll see that, and I think we'll see less recklessness with technology, and simply throwing iPads into classrooms and hoping for the best. I think we'll see less rather than more disruption. Disruption sounds nice if you're working with machines in a business environment. If you're disrupting a school culture, then you may sacrifice 1 or 2 cohorts of children as the disruption is going through. So for me, disruptive innovation in schools is irresponsible compared to disruptive innovation in businesses. So I think we'll see more disciplined innovation, which is really looking at the technology, thinking what can be useful, how it can be focused. And I think the third thing we'll see in 5 years is companies like ATIA taking a lead on programs of responsible use of technology, which will sometimes include less technology. And I think we'll start to think about technology like we think about wine. Which is, it's nice to have wine, it's good to have wine, it is part of European culture, but we all want to drink responsibly And many of the companies selling beer and wine now have programs on drinking responsibly as part of their ability to market their product. And we will see, I think, some technology companies taking the lead on responsible uses of technology.
Okay. And lastly, do you have like 3 top tips for teachers on how to develop their education in the future?
Yeah. So simple ones will be, first, the most important emotion in teaching is surprise. If you don't have surprise, teaching is not worth doing. If everything's predictable, if kids always perform according to expectations, if everybody meets their targets, there's no interest in teaching. It's the child who does something unusual, who comes up with an idea you never expected, who comes out with a word you didn't think they had the capacity to say. This is the joy of watching children learn. And I think in teaching too, even though sometimes if you feel overwhelmed, try surprising yourself by doing something different. Just half a day a week. On Friday afternoon, try something that's a bit risky, a bit different, a bit new, a bit challenging. Might be a new subject, might be a new grade level, might be a new topic, might be a new use of technology. But try something different and unusual. In my last years of being a professor in an institution, I remember the words that somebody said to me, which is, the classes you will always remember will be your first classes and your last classes. So do you want your last classes to be ones where you're tailing off and think, I don't really need to prepare again? Or do I want to take on something really challenging for me that may scare me a little bit in order to create extraordinary experiences for my students? So the first is I think surprise and challenge. The second is learn from your colleagues. So reach out to other colleagues, including ones who are a bit different from you, as well as ones who are the same, to teach with them, plan with them, observe each other's practice. Think about that across schools as well as within schools. And then thirdly, I find ways of actively structured ways of learning from your students. So students usually know a lot more than we think they do. And if we create opportunities for that, then our teaching can change as a result of what we're picking up from our kids, especially when our kids come from backgrounds that are different than ours.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.